Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on prospecting models for household item donations. In this webinar, we will talk about how nonprofits can optimize their campaigns where they ask for household items and what are the analytical nuances around them. Here's a little bit about us. Uh, we are a data analytics company. We are based out of New Jersey with global delivery capabilities. We use data science, machine learning, AI to make help our clients, organizations uh, do a better job of their business operations and make them more efficient. And we work in nonprofits, we work for publishing, subscription based industries, as well as financial services. Here are some clients who have worked with us over the years, and we are very, very fortunate to have been associated with some of these very illustrious brands. So let me start by talking about acquisition analytics frameworks. So in the past, in traditionally, how are these campaigns set up? We start with taking the acquisition campaigns from past. We acquire demographic data. We acquire the response for those campaigns, and then we use that information to build mostly we build a likelihood for response model. Sometimes donation amount and all are also included in the analysis, but at the end we are building that model, and then that model is used to score the entire prospect database. And then once the prospect database has been scored, then what we do is, with records which have the highest score are sent through and for DM campaign maybe, or maybe some form of digital campaign. So that's how traditionally this has worked. So the question for us is, how is it different in this scenario when we are asking for household goods? Before we get into the differences for household item donation pickup, what are the challenges, how they are different than other solicitations, let me tell you a little bit about how this generally works. So, household items are obviously picked up from donor's home. A lot of times there are options to drop them off at a location too. But for purpose of this conversation, let's just focus on the pickup portion of the um, drive. Uh, um, Sometimes it's done directly by the nonprofit, but more often than not, this is contracted out to other third-party organizations who do this on behalf of the nonprofit. The solicitations go out in the name of the nonprofit, but the actual operations is done by another organization. The third party then has some financial arrangement with the nonprofit, where with some measure, and it's usually contingent on some measure of collection, maybe weight, maybe it's volume, some form of collection like that. Uh, though there could be other arrangements as well. Uh, and then almost always these products are then sold through some thrift stores. So that's how this industry is generally set up, and this is how donations for household items usually work. Okay, so now that we have talked about that, on to the challenges. So, what are these challenges? So, there are um, two types of donors. That's the first challenge. And what do I mean? There are two types of donors. So the first type is the ones with altruistic intentions. Uh, they are motivated by the cause for the non-profit. They really want to support it. They want to do their bit for it, and so they give the donation. This is more or less similar to the way mm, um, other traditional non-profit fundraising works, because there too you are looking for people who align with the mission of the non-profit and are motivated to help it. So that's one type of donor. And then there are people who are running out of room in their house, and they want to get rid of the stuff and create more room. Could be various life stage reasons, personal behavior. Some people like to buy more stuff, so they need more room. Uh, uh, the family might be growing. People might be moving out. The different triggers, different reasons due to which people want to get rid of stuff. And then all of us over time anyway accumulate stuff which we need to get rid of it. And so there are these different drivers of why someone would want to donate household items. And then there could be a combination of these two. There are people who are motivated by the cause but also want to give. And so there are, broadly speaking, these are the underlying donor dynamics that are going on, which is a little different than traditional fundraising. So what are some of the other challenges which makes this non-profit method of fundraising a little different? So the collection could be happening over different geographies. So then that also happens in traditional nonprofits, right? Fundraising where you're asking for money. So how is this different? Now in traditional fundraising, uh, yes, there are differences, demographic differences and all across geographies and so on. But at the end, someone is either mailing back the check or calling to give you a credit card number over the phone, or is going on to a website and making the donation. Now here the logistics involve actually people going in there and collecting the items from the individual household, and and uh, there are different house family styles depending on region, different type of terrain, way of living, urban versus rural. All that starts mattering in terms of the logistics of all of this, which impact the collections as well. uh, um, and then there are seasonalities which will happen because of weather patterns. Because of weather patterns, people might want to clear out stuff at different times of the year, and that might vary by regions and so on. And all these are additional challenges which one should be aware of when designing these campaigns. Now, I have been telling you about how there are these differences in the different drivers of giving the donation. People are motivated by just life needs, and then they are motivated by the cause of the nonprofit. And then there are these additional logistic challenges due to geography as well as season. All of this means that a general model might not work as well. One model for all pickups will not work as well, especially if the campaign is being done over a broader range of states or regions. So then, due to this, we first need to understand the data and segment the data, uh, and try to bring it into homogeneous pockets, uh, you know, and in these segmentation should be driven by a combination of data science clustering algorithms, but also based on business and operational understanding. They are all very important because segmentation might be impractical from the way the business runs its operations, because often the segmentation why might imply eh, applying different um, timing of campaign for different segments. Now, if the trucks, and so then that means the truck routing should be also uh, in tune with all of this, and then the trucks. So then segmenting a region where which is natural to a truck's route into two parts might not work as well. So because of all these practical reasons, uh, data science and mm, the business understanding, the operational reality, all that need to be uh, put together and come up with some manageable set of segments. I've rarely done more than five, six segments, maybe seven at most, not more than that. At that point, it starts becoming unmanageable, and then and for each and through that segment, you are trying to get set of homogeneous drivers of response within that group, so that then you can build robust models on them. Next, let us talk briefly about methodology of how all of this will be put together once the segmentation is complete. The first step is data is cleaned for analysis, and then additional features are created, which means basically um, a lot of exploratory analysis is done, some through automation, some through uh, data scientists looking and understanding at the data, but then things like, okay, uh, um, women over 65 uh, are likely to be good prospects, so let us create an indicator for that. Maybe households with kids of a certain age are good, are likely to be good prospects, so let's create that. Maybe interact certain regions with certain incomes, and that becomes important. So these are just hypothetical examples, but things like that are done to based on understanding the data using data science techniques. Then the model is built, machine learning algorithms are applied. Uh, some of these are automation driven, where different modeling techniques are applied, and the best technique for the problem is selected, and the model is built based on that, and then the model has a certain parameters and what predictors come in. It's a combination of automation as well as business intelligence, business understanding, and experience of the data scientists, all of which are put together to create this model. And then this model is validated, and validation on hold out and out of time samples which have been kept aside and a model has not been built on them, and these are tested to make sure the data, the modeling process did not overfit on that sample and just was good for predicting it, but was so good and caught up the nuances so much that it was not general enough and cannot be applied elsewhere. So that's why we take to different samples which we have not expose the modeling algorithm to and test the results there to make sure that the model is looking decent there. And then uh, we are implementing the best working model, and their automation is very important. Um, because it should, in implementation, it should have the least burden on uh, executing the campaign. And for that I will talk a little bit about cloud setup next, but uh, automation is very desirable in this implementation process. uh, Again, depending on the organization's um, uh, capabilities in terms of technology as well as bandwidth of resources. Some self correcting algorithms which improve the model and tweak the model over time are also possible to implement. But more often than not, having a static model is a big win for the organization with periodic manual correction as well, which has this manual correction, periodic review and correction, has a lower technological demand on resources and often is adequate. Now, a question I often get asked when I'm talking about all the modeling and segmentation and implementation of the models is that all this sounds very overwhelming. We are a small organization, we do not have the infrastructure or the bandwidth and the resources. And that is where I want to talk about the cloud setup, where all this can be done with very little um, resources and in a very effective manner. Now, we have a webinar on this whole cloud technology available for nonprofits. We had it, I think, a couple of weeks back and very well attended. And we will have it again in the near future. But in terms of, let me give you just a very brief overview on this without getting into too much details, but with enough information to answer your basic questions. Uh, so the advanced models are built, and I'm taking in this, I'm taking Google's cloud infrastructure as an example. This could be done with Microsoft, Amazon, or other vendors as well. I'm just taking Google as example to take you through. And advanced models can be developed using resources available on Google Cloud like Vertex AI, or it could be done outside Google's infrastructure as well. And this is the development phase, and that is where someone like me would, or my organization, or if you have an internal team, would set up the model, build the model, all what we have been talking about. Then deployment of these models are very easy. Once the model is made, there is with the Vertex AI technology using which you can just basically upload the model, and then uh, it is available, it has been deployed, and it is ready for use. And then the models are scored using something called BigQuery. And what is BigQuery? BigQuery is like a SQL database, cloud based, and very easy to interact with. And the BigQuery works with Vertex AI on the background and will allow you to score your model and have the campaign results available, selection results available for you in the SQL database on the cloud, from where it can be easily extracted in any format. So it makes it very, very simple. And I will so the customized development allows for better performance. It is very basic. I said there would be query SQL, but it's not like one has to write fancy SQL code for this. It's simple extraction queries which someone can design for you, and which, when run, score the model and bring out the results for you and push it to a folder on the cloud, on Google Cloud Storage, from where the campaign team can extract it. Uh, and the big thing is, there is no overwhelming infrastructure to maintain. All this is on the cloud, and it is whichever provider you go with, it is very, very cost effective if set up correctly. So that I wanted to just give you um, uh, this. I will also now talk a little bit about the schematic for deployment of this learning model on cloud platform. How does it all look, you know, in practice? Let me now talk about the end-to-end process. We have gone over all of this, but I wanted to leave you with the big picture, how all of this works. So the first thing is, after we collect the data, we prepare, collect the data from your CRM, and then the model is built, and based on the segmentation, this might be multiple models, and these could be built within a cloud platform like Vertex AI, or could be built on some other platform technology. And then it's all, a model is evaluated. We want to make sure the model is good, it is doing, it's stable, it gives good performance. And then the model is deployed on the cloud, and online predictions are made as needed for campaigns. And then the model needs to be monitored periodically. All of these steps are important in setting up a successful analytics platform. And as I had mentioned in the earlier slide, all of this can be done if with very little infrastructure commitment and one-time setup on the cloud.